Hi everyone, this is Constellation here, and we have Yelan Math Guide 2 ready here. We're going to talk about the artifact builds that we will compare. Basically, this video is about artifact comparison for Yelan. We're going to compare 5 different artifact builds. I'm just quickly going to go through the important notes and assumptions, Yelan's rotation in general. In fact, I'm not even going to go through them, I'm just going to show them, because this is exactly the same as Math Guide 1. Okay, now, after that, we will look into detail on the artifact comparison at 140 ER and artifact comparison at 200 ER. And we will have a TLDR and we'll talk about what's next. So, artifact builds in comparison. Math Guides 1 and 1.1, I used 2HOD, 2TOTM as the artifact build. In Math Guide 2 here, we are going to compare 5 different artifact builds as well as 2 different ER thresholds. Okay, so these are the artifacts I will compare. 2HOD, 2TOTM, we already have the figures. We'll compare it against 4HOD, which honestly speaking is mainly for C6. If you think about it, because of how C6 works and how 4HOD works. Versus 4 Emblem, versus 4HOD 2 Nobilis, and versus 2 Nobilis 2 TOTM. TOTM is tenacity, HOD is Heart of Death. Okay. I think for 4 Wanderer's Troop, I should not need to mention it. The overall damage percentage is lower than 4 HOD, so it will be worse off than this. So I'm not going to include in comparison. Okay. Important notes and assumption, no change from Math Guide 1. I just put it in here so that if you want to pause and look at it, you can look at it. If you want to listen to me explain this in detail, then refer to Math Guide 1. Okay, Math Guide 1, Math Guide 1.1, etc. will all be in the link, in the in-video link or in the top right corner over here, or in the description as well. Sorry, and in the description as well. Now, Yelan's rotation, also no change from Math Guide 1. Same concept as the important notes and assumptions, I'm just leaving this here in case you want to pause. If you want to hear me explain the whole thing, again, Math Guide 1. Now, let's look at the actual content, new content per se, that we have in this video. So these are the damage figures. Okay, this is the rotation length. At C0 is 22 seconds, C1 onwards you can reduce it by about 1 second. C6 has an addition 2 seconds because of how C6 works, but not to worry, the overall damage is a lot more such that the rotation damage is higher. Now this is at 140 ER. As per my previous, the figures here matches my previous Math Guide 1. In fact, slightly higher because I realized that I did not optimize some of the crit damage figures. Now it's optimized, and what I mean by optimized is that the number of artifact rolls that can go wrong are still the same. But I could have in fact gone for a higher crit damage without affecting the number of artifact rolls. So that's what we did. So that's why the figure is slightly higher now than Math Guide 1 and 1.1. So you have the different damage figures or rotation DPS figure. This actually is DPS figures for the 5 artifact builds here. Now let's look at a percentage difference. It is very straightforward to read. This is basically this versus this, 5% difference, this versus this, it's 14% better. This versus this, 2 HOD, 2 TOTM is 8% better, and so on and so forth. So I think goes without saying, 2 HOD, 2 TM is the clear winner here, 0 red figures here, which means no artifact is better than it at all constellations and all refinements, when Yelan is at 140% ER. Even at C6 with the additional 6 more breakthrough bulbs, right, 4 HOD is still worse than 2 HOD, 2 TOTM. It's 2 HOD, 2 TOTM is still 2% better than 4 HOD. But since it's only 2% lower, if your 4 HOD is a lot better than 2 HOD, 2 TOTM, it's fine to use 4 HOD. For all other scenarios, at 140 ER, which likely requires Raiden in the team by the way, 2 HOD, 2 TOTM is the best. It's also easier to get better artifacts from a mix of match of 2, right? Provided you have found both before and you're just taking them to mix and match whatever that you have now. But if you have not, then yeah, more farming will be required, but before you go ahead and jump to farm for 2 HOD, 2 TLTM, this is at 140 ER. Likely you will require Raiden in order for your ER to remain at 140. You will probably need more than 140 ER if it's not Raiden. I've said this many times, both in Math Guide 1 and Math Guide 1.1. So now let's look at 200 ER. Okay, I know it sounds very high, but if you think about it, in most comps that you will use Yelan, she is going to be the only Hydro. Be it Rainbow Comp, OverVape, or even Taser, although Taser is Raiden. i.e., there's no Hydro battery, and because energy generation varies depending on the comp, 200 EI is a safer figure to go for. In fact, Xingqiu typically needs around 200 EI as well, right? So 200 ER is likely going to be applicable for comps without Raiden. And let's look at how 4 Emblem now fares then. Because remember, 4 Emblem skills with ER, unlike the rest of the artifacts. In fact, the rest of the artifacts will probably perform worse because with more ER, you lose more CRCD. Okay, now let's look at how the artifact comparison is like then. These are the damage figures. This is the DPS figure. Obviously, with 60 more ER, you do have a little drop in the DPS and the damage figures, but this is still very, very high for a unbuffed character. Okay. Now, let's look at the percentage difference. Now it's interesting, right? Let's look at this. Now we have some read figures. With 200 ER, 2 HOD, 2 TOTM is now worse than 4 Emblem, because 4 Emblem scales better with ER than all other artifact builds. So in general, if you're in a team, if you're using Yelan in a team without Raiden, let's assume that 200 ER is required. At 200 ER, 4 Emblem is the best artifact for her. But there are constellations where the difference between 4 Emblem and 2 HOD, 2 TOM is only better by a very small percentage. And by when I say very small, refer to pink highlights here. Okay, oh wait, this should not be highlighted. Sorry, hang on. Okay, so the highlights, the only pink highlights as you see, the percentage difference is very small. We are talking about 0.02 up to 0.34. So since they are that small, right, you can basically choose the better between the two based on what you have. Either this or this, 4 Emblem or 2 HOD, 2 TOTM at 200 ER. But bear in mind, 4 Emblem is very resin efficient for farming. So if you are going to farm for her artifacts and you don't intend to use Raiden with her, you should farm 4 Emblem. Okay? And also, with 200 ER, the difference between the mix and match 2, which means like 2 HOD, 2 NOB, 2 NOB, 2 TOTM, or 2 HOD, 2 TOTM, you'll see that the difference is a lot closer, It's 2 to 5%, whereas previously at 140 ER is still quite a big enough difference, okay, between this and these two population. Obviously, the difference between these two is not big. And why am I mentioning them? Because I want to say that if you really do not want to farm for Yelan, you have these artifacts, they are worth considering. But I will still recommend 4 Emblem or 2 HOD, 2 TOTM. Why? Because you gotta remember, when you see like 3 or even 2 to 4% difference against this 2 HOD, 2 TOTM, this is them versus this. Once you factor this 2 versus 4 Emblem, the difference will be even bigger. These two will perform worse, even worse against 4 Emblem. This is the reason why I'll say you should just look at 4 Emblem and 2 HOD, 2 TOTM. But in particular, this pink cells. Okay, if you're going to go with C2R1, C3, or C6. But if you're just farming artifacts for her, it's very straightforward. Just farm 4 Emblem. Okay, that is just a very good domain to farm. Or rather, 4 Emblem is a very good artifact set to farm. And the other artifact set is Shiminawa, so it's still useful even with its 2-piece effect. And 4-piece for other characters, some other characters as well. So yeah, let's go on to the TLDR. Today's video is short and I like that it's short as well. Okay, so with Raiden, 140 ER should be sufficient, but actual com math needs to be done to be confirmed. Okay, at 140 ER, 2 HOD, 2 TOTM is the clear winner. Even at C6 with more charged attacks, more breakthrough bulbs, 4 HOD is still worse than 2 HOD, 2 TOTM. However, it is only 2% lower. So if your 4 HOD is a lot better than your 2 HOD, 2 TOTM, it's fine to use 4 HOD, assuming you have C6. Assuming you have C6 and you are going with 140 ER with Raiden. Without Raiden, without any Hydro Battery, 200 ER should be the highest ER that's required, i.e. it's like the worst case scenario. But again, like I said, I need actual com math to confirm. At 200 ER, 4 Emblem is the winner, and the best artifact build to farm for. However, there are constellations where difference between 4 Emblem and 2 HOT, 2 TOTM is only better by a very small percentage. Refer to the pink highlights or refer to the earlier section. So you can simply choose the better between the two based on what you have at the moment. ER requirements will be revisited and confirmed for each com video. I've said this so many times in Math Guide 1 and Math Guide 1.1 as well. If time permits, but this is new, if time permits, I may do comparison against C6 Xingqiu or even update the comparison against Ayato based on comms as well. But yeah, if time permits. In fact, I don't have time to do like a updated comparison for the 200 ER versus a Ayato, because previously we did a 140 ER comparison, right? So technically speaking, we should also do a 200 ER comparison, but I've given you some thought and I think it's better to just compare the full buff figures. Okay? That means when we do the actual comp video, if I can find the time to do the math for the comparison, we will also do that comparison. In the first place, comparison is always not about trashing a character, but really about seeing where a new character stands versus another character. Okay? Okay, with that we have completed the artifact comparison. This is the what is coming next. Obviously next is going to be team com and rotations. I have not given much thought to which com I want to do first between a com with Raiden and a com without Raiden. I'll probably want to do a com with Plothole first for sure. We will also do weapon comparison once we are done with the team com and rotations, because I think it makes more sense than for the weapons. And because base attack does not matter for her as well, she does have a lot more options for F2P players in particular, because 3-star weapons are also good for her, not just 4-star weapons. And more, of course. Let me know in comments if there are any specific math you would like. I'll see if it can be done, and better yet, come over to Twitch and suggest it, because I may not always be able to see the comments. This is the Twitch link, the link is in the description as well. So yeah, I'm so happy this video is so short. It's very rare for me to do a short video. So anyway, thanks everyone for watching. I hope the content is helpful to you, especially in deciding what to farm for Yelan for now, before she's released. We still have about 5 weeks until she's released. If you like the content, remember like video and click subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. Bye.